Good evening. Tonight we begin with a story that's making headlines on both sides of the border and sending ripples through international business and political circles. The United States has taken decisive action against individuals accused of facilitating illegal migration, marking a significant escalation in its efforts to combat human smuggling networks. The State Department just announced it has revoked the visas of 6 prominent Mexican business executives, a move that underscores the seriousness with which the U.S. is treating this issue. This action not only bars these executives but also their families from entering the U.S., a clear, targeted message that the consequences of involvement in illegal migration extend beyond the individual. It's not just about border enforcement, it's about dismantling the financial and logistical networks that enable human smuggling to thrive. Authorities are now focusing on the money trails and business connections that make these operations possible. The decision has sent shockwaves through Mexico's business community, where many are now questioning how deep the ties between legitimate enterprises and criminal networks might run. U.S. officials believe they have strong evidence linking these executives to illicit activities, including the use of corporate resources to facilitate smuggling operations. By targeting senior leadership, the U.S. is holding those at the top accountable, sending a warning to others who might be tempted to use their influence for illegal gain. This isn't just about people crossing borders, it's about organized, sophisticated operations involving legitimate businesses, commercial vehicles, and complex supply chains. The State Department's action forces a new level of scrutiny on corporate responsibility in migration, raising questions about how companies vet their partners and monitor their own operations. It's a critical example of the modern challenges governments face in the immigration debate, where policy, security, and humanitarian concerns all intersect. This crackdown is about national security, the integrity of the immigration system, and the lives at risk from smuggling networks that exploit vulnerable people for profit. It also impacts U.S.-Mexico cooperation, as both economies are deeply intertwined and rely on trust and collaboration to address cross-border challenges. As we dig deeper, we'll explore why the U.S. took this unprecedented step, what it means for those involved, and the broader consequences for international business, migration policy, and diplomatic relations. The story reveals the complex global nature of migration today, where borders are not just lines on a map, but intersections of law, commerce, and human aspiration. Let's examine how this bold move could reshape the fight against human smuggling, and what it signals for the future of border security and international cooperation. Who are these individuals at the heart of this unfolding controversy, and why has their situation captured so much attention? These are not just any employees, they are the decision makers, the faces of their company, and the ones responsible for steering its direction. The U.S. State Department has confirmed that 6 top executives from a single prominent Mexican air travel company have had their visas revoked. Their identities and the name of the company remain tightly guarded secrets, a deliberate choice to protect sensitive investigations and prevent diplomatic tensions from escalating. These are high-ranking business leaders, wielding significant power and influence within their organization and the broader industry. The repercussions don't stop with them. Their families are also affected, facing travel restrictions and uncertainty, which only amplifies the personal and emotional toll. According to U.S. officials, the alleged misconduct wasn't the work of a few rogue employees. Instead, it's believed to have been orchestrated or condoned by those at the very top. By targeting these executives, the U.S. is sending a clear message. Accountability starts at the highest levels, and no one is above scrutiny. What began as a corporate scandal has now become a deeply personal crisis for these individuals, affecting their reputations, careers, and families. The lack of public disclosure has created a climate of uncertainty and anxiety within Mexico's business community, prompting executives across the country to scrutinize their own practices and relationships with international partners. The message is unmistakable. The U.S. is watching, and it will take decisive action, even if it happens quietly and behind the scenes. For these executives, losing their visas is far more than a minor inconvenience. It's a devastating blow to their professional ambitions and personal lives. They are now cut off from vital U.S. business opportunities, and the stigma of being singled out in such a high-profile manner can follow them for years. The world of international travel, high-level meetings, and corporate success they once enjoyed has suddenly become much smaller and more uncertain. The consequences are swift and severe, serving as a stark warning to others in the industry. No one is immune from accountability when international rules are at stake. At the center of the U.S. government's case lies a grave and far-reaching accusation. These airline executives, along with their company, are alleged to have knowingly partnered with human smuggling networks, turning a blind eye to the consequences. This isn't just about a few rogue employees, it's about a corporate culture that, according to officials, enabled and even encouraged illegal activity for profit. Authorities allege this was no accident or oversight. The airline became a vital link in a sophisticated criminal chain, providing resources and access that smugglers could not have obtained on their own. The accusations go further, claiming the airline systematically transported migrants, including vulnerable unaccompanied minors, on behalf of smuggling organizations, making the operation more efficient and harder to detect. Migrants were routed from the Caribbean and Central America, with the airline providing a crucial leg of the journey toward the U.S. border. These flights, often booked in bulk or under false pretenses, allowed smugglers to move people quickly and discreetly. This partnership made smuggling not only faster and safer for the criminals, but also far more profitable. The flow of money was substantial, with illicit payments funneled through seemingly legitimate business channels. The alleged scheme blurs the line between legitimate business and organized crime, raising troubling questions about how easily legal systems can be exploited by those in power. Smuggling networks are always searching for weaknesses in global travel systems, and a complicit airline is a powerful asset, one that can move hundreds of people with a single flight. For the airline, the motive appears clear: financial gain. The lure of increased revenue and market share outweighed ethical considerations, leading to decisions that put profit above the law. The U.S. government views this as a direct threat to border security and the integrity of legal immigration, with potentially devastating consequences for national policy and public trust. When businesses choose to help smugglers, knowingly or not, they undermine the entire system designed to protect borders and regulate migration. Visa revocation is both a punishment and a powerful warning to others in the industry. The consequences for aiding smuggling are severe and far-reaching. The message is clear: corporate complicity in smuggling will not be tolerated, and those who cross the line will face swift and public consequences. The U.S. aims to break this criminal chain, deter future collaboration, and restore faith in the systems that protect borders and people alike. Let's break down the alleged operation. This wasn't just about selling tickets, it involved sophisticated use of fake or altered travel documents. The airline allegedly helped migrants board flights with fraudulent papers, bypassing security checks. Migrants were flown from their home countries to Central America or Mexico, then handed off to smugglers for the final journey. The airline's role as an air bridge allowed smugglers to move people quickly and in larger numbers. If airline staff were instructed to ignore red flags, the system's first line of defense was compromised. The involvement of unaccompanied minors makes the allegations even more serious. Facilitating the smuggling of children puts them at extreme risk. This likely drove the State Department's firm response. Why is the U.S. so focused on fighting migrant smuggling? It's not just about immigration numbers, it's about national security, public safety, and humanitarian concerns. Smuggling networks are sophisticated criminal organizations, often tied to drugs and weapons trafficking. They exploit vulnerable people for profit, with violence and disregard for life. These groups undermine the rule of law and the integrity of legal immigration. The U.S. strategy now targets the finances and leadership of smugglers, not just migrants at the border. Visa revocation is a new tool in this evolving approach. There's also a humanitarian side. Smuggling journeys are dangerous, and many migrants die en route. Cracking down on businesses that enable smuggling is about saving lives. Disrupting these networks makes smuggling riskier and less profitable. Smuggling routes can also be exploited by terrorists or other threats. By targeting companies that help move people with fake documents, the U.S. aims to close dangerous loopholes. The goal: protect borders, save lives, and uphold the law. Fraudulent travel documents are central to modern human smuggling. Air travel requires valid passports and visas, but smuggling networks produce high-quality fakes to bypass checks. The accused airline allegedly helped migrants use these documents, undermining security from within. If executives instruct staff to ignore red flags, the system collapses. This creates a trusted pathway for smugglers, making their operations more efficient and harder to detect. The fight against document fraud is a constant arms race for law enforcement. When a company is complicit, the risk of detection drops dramatically. The U.S. response is swift and severe. No tolerance for corporate breaches in global security. Targeting top executives in Mexico has diplomatic consequences. The U.S. and Mexico are deeply connected by trade and shared challenges like migration and crime. This move could create tension if seen as unilateral, or foster cooperation if it's part of a joint strategy. Not naming the company or individuals leaves the Mexican business community uneasy. The impact on relations depends on communication and context. If framed as a shared fight against crime, it could strengthen ties. Both nations have a stake in handling this with care and mutual respect. This action sends a clear warning to global businesses, especially in transportation and logistics. The U.S. will hold corporations and leaders personally accountable for complicity in smuggling. The consequences go beyond fines. Executives risk losing access to the U.S. market and their international lifestyles. Companies are now on notice to tighten compliance and security. The ambiguity of the announcement creates anxiety, prompting industry-wide vigilance. In the long run, this could lead to a more secure, transparent business environment. Ethical companies benefit, while corrupt actors are weeded out. The message access to the U.S. comes with strict rules. As the story unfolds, several questions remain. Will the U.S. or Mexico reveal the names of the executives or company? How will the Mexican government and business community respond? Is this an isolated incident or the start of a broader crackdown? The industry's reaction will show how seriously this warning is taken. This case could set a precedent for targeting corporate enablers of crime. The real test: will these actions disrupt smuggling and make migration safer?